Welcome to the Explainer. Listen, I am absolutely thrilled to share this one with you today because honestly, it completely flips the script on how we all think about productivity and AI. Right now, there's this massive misconception out there that the sheer speed of AI generation is the ultimate key to scaling our work. But today, we're going to look at a pretty stark mathematical reality. AI generation, it's actually not the bottleneck anymore. The true modern bottleneck is human validation. So we're going to look at a truly brilliant framework that helps us navigate this exact gap between what a machine can generate and what a human can actually own. Okay, let's dive right into this. We're using a highly synchronized 5-part framework for today's deep dive. Validation overflow, defining the AI mirror, states of artifacts, the controlled pathway, and finally, the boundary rule. All right, part 1, validation overflow. This is exactly what happens when production outruns our judgment. So this is the core problem that practically every knowledge worker, creator, and professional is facing right now when they try to scale their work with AI. What exactly is validation overflow? Well, it's the condition where unbounded AI generation creates a growing queue of unverified claims. Think about it. Because an AI can scale artifact generation infinitely faster than you or I can actually validate those claims and figure out their underlying meaning, we end up with this enormous, overwhelming backlog. And what happens next? Reviewer fatigue sets in. You get so tired of checking every single output that suddenly you're left with uncertain validity. You've got a mountain of content, but you aren't actually sure if it's true, if it's accurate, or if it even aligns with what you intended to say. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the math behind this capacity gap. If you look at the top, AI generation capacity is massive. I mean, it's practically infinite. But the middle factor, human validation capacity, is strictly limited by your time and your expertise. Because you can only reliably publish what you can actually validate, your reliable publication capacity, that dark blue section at the bottom, is essentially equal to the lowest common denominator. When generation exceeds validation, human limits become the binding constraint. Your output isn't capped by the AI, it's capped by you.
Moving on to part 2, defining the AI mirror. Exposing human limits through technology. If human capacity is the bottleneck here, we need to completely rethink how we look at our AI tools. Instead of viewing them as these magic content factories, we need to look at them through the lens of the AI mirror. The AI mirror is a human AI process where generated artifacts actually make the creator's own understanding, their judgment, their ownership, and yes, their limits completely visible. And this happens through the grueling process of validation and revision. See, the AI isn't just a text or image generator. It's quite literally a mirror reflecting your own capacity to understand a topic and take authentic responsibility for the output. If the AI generates some complex scientific claim and you can't verify it, well, the mirror is just showing you the edge of your own domain knowledge. This mirror makes 4 very strict, undeniable judgments visible to us. First, it shows what I understand. Like, can I explain why this AI-generated claim is actually sound? Second, what I can correct. Can I spot a distortion or a loss of my intended meaning? Third, it reveals what I cannot verify. This is when the artifact crosses the boundary of your actual evidence or your personal capacity. And finally, it shows where responsibility ends, the exact point where you must seek outside expertise, pull the claim entirely, or just stop. And I really want to emphasize this point. This whole framework isn't about AI being inherently bad or invalid. It is entirely about authentic ownership and professional responsibility. Which brings us to part 3, states of artifacts, categorizing outputs to maintain truth. To maintain truth and responsibility, we absolutely must rigorously classify the artifacts we produce. We cannot afford to confuse something that just looks highly polished with something that is actually true. So, the first state is simply generated. This just means the artifact exists in the world. And here is the trap we literally all fall into. AI creates things that look incredible, right? They're eloquent, perfectly formatted, visually stunning, but fluency and polish do not establish validity. Just because an essay sounds academic or a chart looks super crisp does not mean the information inside it is factually sound. It is merely a proposed expression. To move beyond that danger zone, an artifact must reach state 2, validated. This means the specific claims and the intended meaning have actually been checked against appropriate, familiar knowledge and trusted sources. Maybe that's your own reliable archive. You've anchored the AI's generation to actual truth. It's no longer just a really good guess, it's verified. Let's move to and see how this builds into the final state, state 3, owned.
This is the ultimate goal of professional human AI creation. An artifact is only truly owned when the creator can fully explain it, defend its claims, confidently revise it, and take absolute total responsibility for making the final decision on whether to publish it. If you can't defend it when someone questions you, you don't own it. I'm going to pause right here, and I want to deliver this next thought with absolute clinical objectivity, because it is for sure the most vital takeaway of this entire concept. Polish is not proof. Fluency is not validity. Publication is not ownership. Merely pushing the publish button on a beautiful AI-generated document does not mean you actually own its ideas. All right, part 4, the controlled pathway, a strict operational pipeline for creators. So how do we solve this? How do we ensure we actually own what we're putting out into the world? We use a linear, strict operational pipeline to move from raw materials to an authentically owned publication. Step 1 is trusted inputs. You always start with your own archive and reliable sources. Step 2 is creating a validated core, establishing your approved claims and terms. Step 3 is generating a controlled derivative, meaning you create one artifact from that core with absolutely no hidden new claims. Step 4 is delta validation. And step 5 is the owned decision, where you choose to publish, unlist, archive, or just stop. So the crucial point here is step 4, delta validation. Think about it. If you generated a completely new AI output every single time, you'd have to validate everything from scratch over and over, causing massive fatigue. Delta validation completely changes the game. It focuses specifically on deviations, new claims, changed emphasis, visual distortions, and how those changes interact with the validated core. By reviewing only the differences, the delta, between the new artifact and your already approved core, you drastically reduce repetitive work, and you fiercely protect your publication capacity. And finally, part 5, the boundary rule, the absolute limit of professional responsibility. We've established the pipeline, but we also have to establish our limits. So before I give you the final rule, I want to ask you a question directly. Look at your own workflow. How big is your unvalidated backlog right now? Honestly, how many AI-generated summaries, drafts, or ideas are sitting in your folders today that look totally polished, but that you haven't actually checked against the truth? That backlog is the physical manifestation of validation overflow, and frankly, it represents a massive liability. To clear that backlog and prevent it from ever happening again, you must adopt the boundary rule. It is beautifully simple. If I cannot validate, explain, or defend a consequential claim, I must seek expert review, remove the claim, archive the artifact, or simply not publish it. It's an unbreakable rule. Crossing this boundary means you are abandoning authentic ownership. It means you're literally letting the machine take responsibility, which as professionals, we simply cannot do. Generate less, validate upstream. Review the difference. Publish only what you can own. The ultimate question you have to ask yourself today is this: will you let the machine silently dictate your truth, or are you ready to take back authentic ownership of your work?